Good afternoon, Mehlo Madala. The war carries on in the Gaza Strip. And I remember during the days when the war started, the Lord called me into a certain posture or a certain following of the war. Unlike the war in Ukraine, when it started, the Lord also did call me. He said to me, I want you to watch what happens every day in Ukraine. I want to show you something. I did not watch the war every day, but I did follow it. Now, when it came to the Israel war, God said to me, I want you to make a decision. Are you going to watch and tell my people what I tell you about this war, or make a decision not to be part of it? And if you make that decision not to be part of it, I would understand. I mean, this was the beginning of the war. And just God says straight to me that if you're going to report on this war, you too are going to be a target. He didn't use those words, but that's what he meant. That if you follow the Holy Spirit, support Israel, you too are going to feel some kind of repercussions. The enemy will not cease to do something about it. But as a soldier of the cross, you make a decision to follow Christ. And I like the fact that the Lord said, uh, even if you don't go into this battle, I will understand. Well, I'm reminded of Abraham. Abraham could have not gone to the battle against the five armies, even though some of his workers were abducted by the Arab armies during that time. Abraham did go to the war anyway, and he won the war uh, in Canaan. Now, I don't want to tell you the troubles that I've gone through because of supporting Israel, but I tell you there has been consequences for my support for Israel. Just as God had told me that there will be consequences for supporting Israel. You were going to get attacks, which I did, but I will not bother you with that. We're going to carry on now in support of Israel, and I need to clarify the importance of supporting Israel. And I need to correct some people that are ideologically lost or wrong by mischaracterizing the people that support Israel and not understanding what they fully mean when they say they support Palestine. When we support Israel in the war, it does not mean that we do not support the Palestinian people. In fact, those who support Israel will come at the end or after the war with a better proposition and a better placement for the people of Palestine than those that support Hamas, hiding behind supporting Palestine. They will say they support Palestine and wear the Palestinian flag, but in actual fact, they are supporting Hamas, which is a terrorist organization that wants to bring death to Israel. Israel, the only democratic country in the Middle East, which have brought a civility in the Middle East, and development in the Middle East. Israel is a good force for change in the Middle East. All Muslim people are lucky to have Israel existing in the Middle East. If you say that you are an Arab or you are Muslim and you unintelligently support Hamas under the guise of religiosity, let me call let me call out the wrong there. You're not a bad person. You're not an evil person. You are acting tribal, which is a common human trait, but it is ill advised. And let me clarify how ill advised it is. If you say, well, we the Muslims support Palestine, I'm not a Muslim, I support the Palestinians as well. And I believe that the Palestinians are better under an Israeli leadership than under Hamas. As the Zimbabweans being um, ruled by ZANU-PF, I understand what the Palestinians are going through. Somebody may say ZANU-PF is a legitimate government elected by the Zimbabweans, but how about the Riki? How about the fact that most of the Zimbabweans cannot even carve out a life of their own in their own country? Same thing, Hamas and ZANU-PF in the same bracket. Now, going back to the religious fundamentalists who support Hamas on the religious basis, I like to say Islam is a good religion. It promotes love, good neighborliness, and all that. But radical Islam itself is a problem in the Middle East, let alone Israel and the rest of the world. Saudi Arabians as well know of the threat of Iran in the region and how their extremist ideologies have caused confusion to the young Muslim uh, brothers and sisters who have gone on a lie fueled by a propagandist to believe that when they die for Iran, they are dying for Allah, they are dying for Jehovah, which is a lie. Okay, it's just an Iranian propaganda move for Iran's plans to dominate the region and install an Islamic state or an Islamic movement, Islamic rulership of the Middle East and the whole world, which is going to be terrible for all of us in the whole world. So the people that say they support Palestine, okay, they wear the Palestinian flag and they are against Israel, which they characterize as apartheid Israel or occupying Israel. I mean, it's crazy. How can you occupy your own land? But nonetheless, that's not the argument I want to go into right now. I want to say that those people do not know what they are wishing for. Because if Hamas and Iran had to get their own way with the Hezbollah, if they were to rule the whole of Israel as Palestine, and together with Iran begin to overpower Saudi Arabia's pivotal position as the current leader of the Middle East, I'm telling you, the GCC will be a mess. They will install strange Islamic laws in the Middle East and will cause the whole global economy to come to a halt because they will be controlling most of the global supply of oil. And these are not democratic people, and these people don't care about human rights. The human rights that they don't care about, they don't care about the human rights of the Muslim people. So you see, here's my argument. If you're a Muslim, don't be fooled in following this um, tribal or religious position where you say us as Arabs, us as Muslims, Israel is good for the Arabs, Israel is good for the Muslims. Religious tolerance is good. Israel and their allies, Britain and the United States, they support religious tolerance. I mean, come on, Israel has got an opportunity of taking over all of Jerusalem if it wants to. Yet there is an Islamic mosque in Jerusalem, in the holy city of Christians and the Jews. Even there is the Islam built in what you call it, a mosque there. And Israel has not bombed that mosque. Israel has respected the Muslims' right to religion. All right. So, do you think that under Hamas ruling the whole country of Israel, would they allow us Christians to go and worship Jesus there? Or they will just change the whole thing and say everybody must be Muslim, everybody must, they will come up with the laws that are tough and terrible for everyone. So, why least you think that it's a noble idea? On paper, it sounds like a noble idea to say, uh, we support Palestine, when in actual fact, you're supporting Hamas, which really is going to bring an Islamic caliphate that no one in the world would like. And God save us if that Antichrist in Iran runs the whole world. It would be trouble for everyone. If it would be trouble even for the Chinese, it would be trouble even for the Russians, it would be trouble for the Europeans, it would be trouble for everybody else, not just the Jews. So I need some of our people who are intellectually challenged to understand, to get deeper into the issue and realize that if you want global peace and global prosperity, you need to support Israel and we need to see Israel winning. And some of our friends in the Ivy League universities, University of Pennsylvania, University of Massachusetts, the Massachusetts Institution of Technology, MIT, and Harvard and stuff like that. There is this, I don't know where they come from, these half-baked intellectuals, these students who are campaigning against Israel there in Massachusetts. And I'm and which has incensed most of the billionaires who are now removing their sponsorship of these Ivy League universities, who are failing to rein in on their ill-advised students. And some of them are actually trying to get the names of all those students and they're refusing them future employment, which I think is a harsh. But anyway, you must understand that this is tantamount to World War III. We must not leave a room for error. If we've got people whose ideologies are in error, we need to correct them quickly. And if those people are in Ivy League colleges, universities in the United States, these are the people that are going to run the global economy later on, and they're supporting Hamas. That is crazy. So I support the billionaire class in Wall Street for actually stopping supporting these universities until they are clear that we will stand with Israel. And standing with Israel is tied with standing with global peace and preserving human rights. For the condition of mankind is good under the leadership of the United States and Israel. And the condition of humanity will be catastrophic if Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran are allowed to win the war. I don't know how I can stress this better for my fellow Zimbabweans to understand that even us as a country of Zimbabwe, as Zimbabweans, we need to decipher the facts and the lies out there and understand that for Zimbabwe as well to be successful, we need to be part of the global order led by the United States and full support of Israel, and not move to the left or to the right. I'm very much disappointed in South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, who also has made announcements wearing the Palestinian flag, which really is a flag for Hamas. Okay, it's nice to say I support Palestinians. It sounds uh, it, it sounds humane. It sounds like you are fighting for the rights of the Palestinian women and children. Yet in actual fact, the one who benefits from that statement of supporting uh, Palestine, the one who benefits is Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran, the forces of darkness. So President Cyril Ramaphosa also supports them, and he says he supports the freedom of Palestinians from, uh, I mean, in the whole region, which means that they are not really in support of what Israel is doing. If you're not supporting what Israel is doing, And you are South Africa, whose economy is depending on AGOA, whose economy in this country was built by the Jewish community, supported by the Jewish community. But you know that if the Jewish community decides to turn its back against South Africa, within a couple of years, this country is going to be a banana republic. Perhaps comrades in the ANC is what they really want. I wouldn't know. Perhaps they would want the Jewish community to turn away from South Africa. Perhaps they feel like they will be in a better position to do as they please. Because I feel South Africa is the last is the last oasis in this desert that is called Africa. And this oasis is drying up. And if we mistreat the Jewish community here in South Africa, I'm telling you, Africa, you can kiss Thabo Mbeki's Africa Renaissance goodbye. Because, God help us, there will be wars amongst each other as Africans, and will not be able to get out of that. The guilt of being against Israel is going to torment us and torment our future generations. I think it is unwise for whoever is working uh, in Pretoria advising their president, Cyril Ramaphosa. That guy must be fired. I don't know who it is. Okay. The one who put Cyril Ramaphosa with the Palestinian flag and made him say all of those anti-Israeli things and made the president say that Israel is occupying Palestine. Whoever advises the president of that must be either disciplined or fired, because it is bad for Africa. And I know that in South Africa there is a strong uh, pro-Palestinian movement, right, which influences a lot of ANC ideology, and also the ANC's historical fight with, against an apartheid government makes them believe, or for some reason they want to say that they want to compare South Africa's apartheid with what is happening in Palestine, the West Bank, and then they say that Israel is apartheid, just like the former apartheid government in South Africa, which is something which we can debate on another day. Because after all, Israel is coming back to their own land. The white people that came to South Africa, a land which is not theirs, but Israel is in their own land. But I don't want to debate that today. Just want to talk about the fact that when you are South Africa, the last bastion of hope in Africa, owing to the Jews that emigrated to the southern part of Africa. The Jews that left Zimbabwe, Zambia, Malawi, and the region and came to settle in this part of Africa and began to create an economic juggernaut, which is South Africa. South Africa now has got a voice all over the world. The ANC, when it goes to the United Nations, it has got a voice. South Africa has a voice as a country. But that voice is coming from the work of the Jewish community in South Africa, supported by the global Jewish community, okay, in the United States, in the United Kingdom, Europe, and in Israel. All the Jewish communities supported the ANC against the apartheid regime before you call Israel an apartheid state. They supported Nelson Mandela himself, got supported by the Jewish community to build this country. So you do not go there and urinate on the well that is actually you people are drinking from. It's unwise decision. That's why I'm saying these people that are advising Cyril Ramaphosa must be fired. All right. And in South Africa, he has got this existential threat that nobody else is aware of. Even the black South Africans who like to fight other black foreigners, saying that this is our South Africa, the jobs belong to us. They do not understand that this South Africa that they are fighting for, these jobs that they are fighting for, are jobs that are afforded to them by the Jewish community of South Africa. If this Jewish community of South Africa goes to Zimbabwe and stays in Zimbabwe, You can kiss all those South African jobs goodbye. They will be in Zimbabwe. This economic prosperity will be in Zimbabwe, which I think I will do. If I'm the president of Zimbabwe, I will take all the Jews that the ANC does not like in this country, and I will give them land in Zimbabwe and allow them to start businesses and be free in Zimbabwe. Hallelujah. Holy is the God of Israel. And then you will see that this whole thing of fighting foreigners in South Africa is a waste of time, because really you are fighting them against the people that you hate. Because ANC hates the Jewish community, of which the Jewish community is producing the wealth that the ANC relies on. Even the corrupt ANC is corrupt on the Jewish wealth, stealing the wealth that was created by the Jewish people. Okay. So, and then at the same time, you wear a Palestinian flag, which is really a secret way of being of saying screw the Jews. And then the black South Africans themselves, I mean, I don't blame them, because the education in this country is not really up to scratch. So they wouldn't know. So they wouldn't know that the fact that when they fight foreigners in South Africa, they are actually, they're not fighting for foreigners, are not coming here to take what belongs to black South Africans. No, it's what belongs to the Jews. And it's what the Jews built in South Africa. And they employed black South Africans. Then they went ahead and also employed black Africans. And now you have black on black violence or arguments. The black South Africans will say it is South African, it is ours. But I want you to understand that on a deeper level, it is South African because it is located in a geographical location. But really, the one who is wealthy, who created that wealth, is the Jewish community. That Jewish community which is fighting for its survival right now in Israel, in Palestine, in the Gaza Strip. That Jewish community that is empowering South Africa is fighting for its existence. And we cannot have the president of black people supporting the enemy of that Israel. And I, as a future leader of Zimbabwe, fully support 100%, no questions to the left or to no turning to the left or to the right, but straight up 100% dedicated to the freedom of Israel, to the life of Israel, to the success of Israel, because I am smart. I understand that my people in Africa have got inherent problems owing to many other factors, and we do need the partnership of Israel for us to move forward. And I will not pee on the well that I want to that is going to be feeding my people, and I will not pee on the well that is currently feeding my people, that is currently feeding me. Shining as I am is because of the well that the Jewish community built. And we need to be clear as far as our allegiances are concerned, our political allegiances are concerned. We need to be 100% clear. Unrelenting in our support for Israel, and not allowing these propagandists and these other pseudo ideologies, these new ideologies that come from wherever, which want to take away the glory of Israel and give it to other people. Taking away the glory of Israel is denying what Israel has done for all of us, or what Israel is currently doing for all of us, and trying to shift that glory to some other place or to some other people, and paint Israel as the bad guy. This is actually stealing the glory of the glory of God, essentially. Stealing the glory of God. That's what makes God angry. When instead of worshiping God, you take away the glory of God and give it to someone else. Because we know that Israel itself is blessed because of God. The God of Israel is the one who has blessed the earth through Israel. He said it, that the nations of the earth shall be blessed through you, Israel. So as a Zimbabwean, please, we are going to succeed because the God of Israel is going to let Israel. So I'm concluding now. Here's the conclusion. We as Zimbabwe, barring what these those pretending politicians are doing in Harare, I don't even know what they're doing. Barring whatever it is that they're doing, us as Zimbabweans, we 100% support Israel for the purposes of humanity, for the success of humanity. Don't be a Zimbabwean and you'll be seen connecting wrong ideologies that will bring death to your people, that will bring poverty to your people. Please, noda kuti nyika ibudirire here, please do not support ridiculous ideologies that bring poverty. Do you know there is ideologies, there is a mindset that bring poverty to a whole generations. And I'm very fearful for the ANC leadership is taking South Africa and the whole of Africa, because perhaps now the shift in Africa must shift from Pretoria to Zimbabwe when we actually get rid of the forces that support Iran in Zimbabwe, so that the Jewish community will be safe in the region. I feel sad for the Jewish community in South Africa, knowing very well their contribution to this country and the fact that they are being shown the middle finger by the governing authorities. Perhaps in a new Zimbabwe, not perhaps, definitely in a new Zimbabwe, which I will lead, the Jewish community will have great access to the nation, knowing very well that they are an oasis. And if we work together with the Jewish community, we can build Zimbabwe to the great nation that it should be. Zimbabwe would be the Israel of the South. Zimbabwe, the land, will be the Israel that the Zimbabweans will come from all over the world to rebuild, just like the Israelites up north also left Europe and the Americas to build Israel. That kind of policy, that kind of foreign policy that is anchored on the United States and accepting the Jewish state of Israel and supporting the Jewish communities around the world, including supporting the Jewish community in the region, giving them a home in Zimbabwe, assurances of safety in Zimbabwe, and also guided by the knowledge that the United States is the preeminent global superpower. That, my fellow Zimbabweans, is an ideology and foreign policy position that you have to take in order to succeed and to fight poverty. I've always told you on this channel that my job that God gave me is to fight poverty in Zimbabwe. And I'm telling you that there are ideologies that bring poverty to a nation, and there are ideologies that bring prosperity to a nation. This, what I've been telling you, is what is going to bring prosperity to Zimbabwe. Are you not tired, all Zimbabweans, of being seen crossing the border illegally in South Africa, being called kwerekweres, being dehumanized by the South Africans, becoming slaves in Dubai? Are you not tired of all of that stuff? And follow me. My name is Ngobane Zondo. I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you what's going to help you. This is good food. If you haven't eaten any food today, The best food that we've eaten is what I'm telling you right now as a Zimbabwean. Anything that is against what I'm saying, which is contrary to what this video is saying, I'm telling you, it is poison. It will lead only to poverty. Okay? Let the South Africans do as they're doing. Because I'm telling you that the South Africans are applying for poverty by their policy stance against Israel. That is a systematic way of getting people into poverty. And I'm wondering if the ANC, a calculative move, knows what it is doing, but perhaps the comrades are happy with this trajectory, this tragic trajectory, because it might be beneficial to the comrades. Because at the end of the day, if South Africa becomes a banana republic, it's not like the ANC will be broke. No, it's the South Africans who will be broke and miserable, poor. But the comrades with their alliances with Russia, China, Iran, they themselves will be an enclave of prosperity. They will prosper, okay, but at the expense of everybody else. Perhaps they calculated that way without heart. I have got a heart for my people. Okay. The same thing in Harare. The ZANU PF comrades, those on top, they are prospering right now. They're making a lot of money being friends with Iran, but they they might have miscalculated because we're now entering a third world war. As we're going towards the third world war, if as Harare, are you will you be able to stomach the pain that will come from the punishment of supporting Iran, Russia, China? Do you think that camp was going to come out of the World War III victorious? Not at all, because the forces of good always win over the forces of evil. And I've characterized for you that Israel is the force for good and Hamas is the force for evil. Hamas is so evil and Iran so evil that they hide behind the Holy Quran and they incest the whole Islamic communities. They all begin to think that their religiosity, their Islamic identity is tied with supporting Hamas, which is not true. But a lot of Muslim people have been misled by the Hamas propaganda into thinking that supporting Hamas is what a true Muslim must be. When in actual fact, a true Muslim who loves peace and global order will understand that Israel is a good force in the region and that the United States is the leader of the whole world. Don't be a rebel. Okay, I do not think that the Islamic religion teaches people to be rebels, but just that there are rebels within the Islamic movement who begin to do, who want to rebel against the global order. Okay, what Iran is doing is rebelling against the global order, challenging the leadership of the United States, which is a terrible decision. But take a look at another Islamic country that has done well, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is moving towards accepting Israel. In fact, one of the reasons why Hamas attacked Israel was because Iran was not happy that Saudi Arabia is normalizing relations with Israel. So you will see that Saudi Arabia, which was moving towards normalizing relations with Israel, Saudi Arabia, who has got a military agreement with the global superpower, which is the United States, has succeeded all along. They are beginning, it's only this year that Saudi Arabia is making policy missteps by trying to break away from USA, trying to negotiate with the Chinese, having negotiating the Saudi Iranian deal via the Chinese in a sort of a way of trying to exclude the Americans out of it. That is I see that Chinese Iranian axis trying to persuade Saudi Arabia to move towards their side, tilt towards their side, which is a bad policy move by Saudi Arabia. So far, Saudi Arabia has done well, while it's looking west. And I see that South Africans are also doing that same policy mistake. And Zimbabwe is a long one. I mean, Nangagwa, not Zimbabwe, Nangagwa. is gone that direction of Hamas and Iran, which is terrible. That is why we need us as Black Zimbabweans and the Jewish community in South Africa and Africa in the region to unite for prosperity in the region. We must take the bull by the horns ourselves as Black Zimbabweans in the Jewish community. We, the two of us. What a strange combination. Yes, but we are the ones in this region, and we need to make sure that there is safety in the region. I cannot speak about what can happen to South Africa. I'm not South African, but I can speak about Zimbabwe. I am a Zimbabwean. That we need to get the politics of Zimbabwe fixed and remove all Iranian friends or Iranian vestiges in Zimbabwe and bring about a Zimbabwe-Israeli partnership that will bring about prosperity for the Jewish community in the region and also for the Zimbabweans. It will give the Zimbabweans an opportunity to take advantage of Israel's technological prowess in the agricultural field, in the use of water resources, and the broader technological advancements that Israel has been endowed with in order to see that, in order to create this South, South and North alliance, with Zimbabwe being the Israel in the South and Israel being the Israel in the North. That, my friends, is going to bring shockwaves across the corridors of sin across Africa. And that is the strategy that we will need to use to bring freedom to the rest of Africa. It is high time that Africa is free from tyrants. Africa is free from being dominated by the forces of darkness. So here is the policy direction. All of you there in the Pentagon, okay, those of you in Pentagon, Maryland, United States, the Washington State, here is the policy direction or agenda that works. We have got the global superpower, the United States, not to be challenged by anybody. We've got Israel in the Middle East to influence global US policy, which is the leader of the world peace in the region of the Middle East. Then you come to Africa. Then we have got South Africa, which is really, quite frankly, failing to live up to its expected returns. Okay, the ANC is losing it. Therefore, it means that we need to shift that what can I call it? Shift base. Do not put all of your eggs on South Africa, because clearly they are showing you the middle finger, running military drills with Russia and China in Cape Town, and wearing Palestinian flags, which is the disguise of supporting Hamas and the enemies of Israel, which want an end to Israel. I mean, aligning with President Ramaphosa, aligning with ZANU-PF, which also is closer to Iran. There, we need a policy shift in these countries. You need Zimbabwe to be fixed. If you are Washington and you have never had a reason to fix Zimbabwe, here is the reason for you. My name is Ngobani Zondo. If you're the Pentagon and you're wondering if you have got soldiers in Africa, here is one. We need to get our act together, ladies and gentlemen, and get Zimbabwe on the top of the list on the US foreign policy agenda in Africa. Right now, as we are getting into this World War III against the enemies of Israel, and as we can see that Iran and her allies are not only attacking Israel in Israel, but they are also attacking the whole Jewish community all over the world, not excluding the Southern African region, which has got a very huge Jewish population, which, by the way, I must add, has been a tremendous uh, force for good, force for economic development, education in the region. Johannesburg itself grew after the gold rush. It was the Jewish community that came and established banking institutions and created order within the Johannesburg area. That's why Gauteng became what it is, the great superpower, or the great economic superpower, economic infrastructure to be ever built in the past 150 years. It was because of the Jewish community. I mean, DRC is also rich, like South Africa is endowed with very much, with a lot of minerals, but the Jewish community did not go to circle in the DRC. So that's why the country is a mess. But South Africa is now blessed because of the Jewish community. So I'm not a fool. I'm a wise man. I understand the importance of the Jewish community. I do not downplay it. I do not, I'm not filled with jealousy about it. I support my God. I love Jesus Christ. I know that He blessed the Jewish country and the Jewish people so that we, as the rest of the, we, people of the world, can be blessed through the Jews. Okay, I'm not going to God skipping the Jews. No, God is a God of order. Okay, we understand that order. And there is actually historical evidence, as I am giving to you, that shows that it is the Jewish community that has brought prosperity to this region. That is why all the men from the in the Southern African region are coming down to South Africa to look for jobs. And historically, they've been looking for jobs in the mines that were controlled, managed, financed by the Jewish community, and they brought about this economic infrastructure that has been a blessing to all of us. And I'm appalled that President Cyril Ramaphosa is actually turning, showing the middle finger to his community at a critical point like this. So if you are in the Pentagon and you are thinking about the Jewish, the security of Israel, you must not just think of the Middle East, but think also of the whole world. And I'm focusing on Africa because that is where I am. That is where I am positioned. That's the post that God put me in as the soldier of the army of the Lord. I've always said that on this channel that there is something called the army of the Lord. Okay, we might not have known each other previously, but at an appointed time like this, God brings us together for His holy purposes, the purposes of keeping and maintaining the global order. Okay, otherwise, if the enemies win, there will be a global disorder. I do not think there's anybody in Washington or in the Pentagon who doesn't understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying that if we allow Iran to win, if we allow these Iranians to have their influences on ZANU-PF and allow them to increase the influences on the ANC, then the Jewish community and the Jewish miracle in South Africa will come to an end. And Africa itself will disintegrate and will go down what will go down the sinkhole and will be difficult to redeem. It will go down the way of the Middle East. So as Israel is fighting to stabilize the Middle East through a war that is brutal against the evil one, that is brutal against the bad guys who want to bring this disorder in the region and also in the whole world. So you must not forget, as the US AFRICOM must not forget of that of Africa, and be strategic in how we deal with our alliances. Truly granted, ZANU PF has to go. ANC needs to be reoriented. I wouldn't think that ANC must go the way ZANU PF should go, unless if the ANC doubles down on their positions. I feel like with the ANC, it's not a hatred for Israel that they have. Actually, it's just ideological or policy missteps that are driven by uh, intellectual ineptitude, intellectual laziness, not really a hatred for Israel. That's hatred for Israel. You see it with Iran and Hezbollah, not with the ANC. It's just laziness. If they were brought up to speed with what is necessary, perhaps they will change the policy direction and ANC will be saved. Unless as the war deteriorates, unless if they really stick to their guns and really, even after being shown what is wise, even if being shown wisdom, and they still do not want to, to do the wise thing, which is to denounce Hamas, okay, to denounce Iran, and to stand for Israel and understand that standing for Israel is standing for South Africa. You want to put South Africa first, stand for Israel, because standing against Israel is putting South Africa last. Destroying South Africa is standing against Israel, wearing a Palestinian flag to as if you care about Palestinian people, when in actual fact, maybe unwisely supporting Hamas. So that's why I'm calling it intellectual laziness. More than it's not a hatred for Israel. I know black South African in the ANC, they actually have got no feeling whatsoever concerning is the Jewish people. They have got nothing against them. It's just that it's just intellectual laziness which needs to be addressed. I remember last year making a video when I said that God said Ramaphosa is stuck in a box, stuck between two positions. He does not know which place to fall under. Okay, so it was that intellectual laziness that led to the president to choose Russia, China, and Hamas. It, he himself was stuck between this here and there. So the facts given to him and the advice given to him ended up causing him to tilt towards the Palestinian cause, which really is a Hamas cause, which is a cause against Israel, not because of his heart. If he were to be surrounded by advisors who are not attached to religiosity, because the problem in South Africa is that there are some people who attach who attach their religious ideologies to politics, and they think that belonging to a certain religion should warrant somebody to support a certain political position, even if that political position is not the right one. It might be a factor in Ramaphosa's case. They are also intellectually bankrupt uh, religious people who think that their religion means they must support a certain political agenda without using their intellect and analyzing the real situation on the ground. Sometimes the people from your own religion might be wrong. Okay, you must understand that as an intellectual. You not just follow because they say, "Oh, these are our people." That kind of a hate mentality, that hate mindset, without really uh, boiling the facts and trying to figure out, coming out with sound doctrine, is what a lot of politicians and global leaders are suffering from at the moment, including those kids at Harvard who are supporting Hamas. They think they are wise, but they have not really. They're actually acting out of emotions, and and the emotions that are charged with their religiosity, in a hope or in a mind that makes them think that their God wants them to support what their religious leaders say, even if their religious leaders might have betrayed the true religion. Religious leaders might betray religion, and followers can follow thinking that they are going to the right place. As in the case of South Africa, some people might follow Hamas thinking that it is their religious identity to do so, yet that is what's going to destroy South African society. But they will not be doing it because they want to destroy South African society. They'll be doing it because they think that they love South Africa. Yeah, of course, I'm not questioning people's patriotism to South Africa, but I'm just investigating the wisdom behind the way in which we are leading this country. So those are my 2 cents. But as far as my country is concerned, I'd like to reassure the Jewish community and Israel that I, Ngobani Zondo, fully support Israel 100%, and I'm looking forward to build a coalition of Zimbabwe and Israel to take this region forward. If South Africa is not willing to fight the battle of righteousness in the region, us as the Zimbabweans are willing to take over from ZANU-PF and lead for, for good. We are not rebellious. We are not rebels. Like ANC, which is thinking of rebelling, and ZANU-PF, which has already rebelled. We are a movement that is obedient to the global order, which after the Second World War has brought peace and prosperity to all the countries in the world that have been obedient. Take a look at the prosperity of South Korea vis-a-vis North Korea, the prosperity of Taiwan, the prosperity of Imperial Japan after their defeat in the Second World War. Let us focus on what is good and support what is good. Do not be overwhelmed by the powerful who are evil. Even during the Second World War, Hitler and Imperial Japan looked like they were going to take over the whole world. But the Lord would not let that happen. Changes happened quickly. The atomic bomb and the Russians fighting the Japanese in Manchuria changed the forces of Japan, with the US military fighting all the way from Pearl Harbor, closing in on Japan and Hiroshima. Japan lost the war, but they looked like they were winning the war in the first instance. Just like Hitler as well in Europe, who occupied France, occupied Poland, threatened to occupy Britain, basically had all of Europe, even went into Russia before he took Moscow and Stalingrad. How Hitler's fortunes were reversed by the cold winter of Russia. Begin to see the cold winter of Russia, the Russian army in Manchuria, the US army fighting back in the islands, and the nuclear bomb. All of those factors Hitler and the emperor in Japan did not know about before. They did not know that those were the factors that were going to change the war. So don't follow the bad guys just because they look like they are taking over the world. Good will always prevail, even if evil seems to be winning. Okay, let me cut it here. My name is Ngobani Zondo, and I'm advocating for a change of fortunes for the Zimbabweans and the Jewish community in Southern Africa. And God bless Israel. God bless the leader of the free world, which is the United States. And above all, God bless Zimbabwe, which is coming from the abyss of abuse by tyrannical men and women in Harare to a place of honor and glory and upliftment, a place of obedience and accepting the global order. Have a great day. I've given you food and something to chew on. And this, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not eaten anything today, this is the food that you were supposed to eat. Remember when Jesus was offered food and he said, I've got food to eat that none of you know of. This is the caliber of food, the kind of food that the Lord might have been alluding